And then you get the reloaded arms of Walker, which is like the greatest thing that Henry Cavill's ever done. He gets loaded, gets in, beats him to a pulp. So does Ethan. They both get beaten pretty badly. Hey everyone, welcome back to Candid Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be continuing my Mission Impossible marathon with Mission Impossible Fallout, directed again by Christopher McQuarrie. The whole crew is back except for Jeremy Renner. We know where he was. He was in all the Avengers films. We get it. Renner, we get it. But it's okay. Mission Impossible Fallout has a stacked cast. Henry Cavill's in this as Walker, who is working with the CIA, and we have Angela Bassett as one of the CIA heads that's working against Henley. Alec Baldwin reprises his role as well. But we have those two coming in. We have Sean Harris coming back as Solomon Lane, and there's some pretty interesting things that happen in this movie. We're introduced to Vanessa Kirby for the first time. Well, for me, for the first time, and she plays the White Widow. The thing with Fallout is that we went from something so intricate like Rogue Nation, and we really had a solid villain with Solomon Lane to scare Ethan to bits. So in the opening of Fallout, we still have Ethan thinking about Lane and thinking what else he could possibly do to him, that he could break out and kind of like seek revenge. And he has a dream that Lane is somehow connected to Julia. And I kind of like this because there was no mention of Julia in Rogue Nation. And we saw the last of her in Ghost Protocol. We found out what had happened, but it was like silent in Rogue Nation, which was questionable. And I didn't really think anything of it. But here at the very beginning, and I think it's just the way that Christopher McQuarrie did it. And obviously, Tom Cruise is a very gifted actor. So I really felt it for Julia and Ethan in this film, more so than Ghost Protocol and definitely more than MI3. So I don't know how that happened, but it's very subtle. And I think that you put the threat with Solomon Lane taking Julia and doing something like horrible with her, and you mix that with the relationship that they have, I think that was really effective and what really worked for me. So then Ethan wakes up and he's in Belfast, I believe, and he receives a package. And in the package, it's a book, and he opens it and there's a whole bunch of gears, and obviously there's an automated message for him. Hello, Ethan. Here's your mission if you choose to accept it. They have to get plutonium. So there are these buyers, and then they have to get the plutonium from the buyers at this like local drop because it is directly related to this group of people called the Apostles. And because Solomon Lane went underground, no one can find him. Obviously, each intelligence agency across the world is taking turns, like trying to understand what Lane's doing and what he has done. So the Apostles have kind of formed as this like extremist group to take over what Solomon Lane couldn't do because he was taken. So they go to this drop and it's really sketchy. Ethan's calmer than usual, but it's supposed to be like a routine thing. And the second he hears that like Lane's involved in what the Apostles are, it's weird for him. And Benji's in it, Luther's in it, they're all together, and it just feels off. So at this drop, what happens is that there is kind of like another team there, which is technically the CIA, but they don't know that. So there are three groups of people that are in place for this like trade of like plutonium and then the money. And Luther's on comms, Benji's with Ethan, and Luther gets held at gunpoint, and he's supposed to bring the money in, but someone's holding him there. It's weird. So they ask for the money for the plutonium. They see the plutonium. And what happens is that in order for them to get the plutonium, it's either they're going to kill Luther or you're going to give them the money. And it was just a weird drop for that reason. And obviously Ethan's like, no, I'm going to protect my friend. Like, what are you talking about? Like, keep your plutonium. I don't care. And he ends up saving Luther, which does not sit well with the CIA. Henley, now the head of IMF, is talking to Ethan. And he's like, we're going to have to do this other drop with the White Widow, who's Vanessa Kirby in Paris. And they have to find someone named Lark in order to make the swap and all of that. So This entire piece, I think because Rogue Nation and Fallout are so similar, there's not much I can really say to differentiate between the two of them because McQuarrie's style is pretty solid now. And I love Lauren Balfe's score in this as well. It's much softer. And I like that we have a different title card at the beginning. It's all like red and fiery in Fallout. So I like that. And we get the character introductions. We see that Walker comes in, which is played by Henry Cavill, with Sloane, who is played by Angela Bassett. And they come in and they're like, I don't trust Ethan Hunt to do the job because he has so much heart and he cares about his friends more so than actually completing the task. Like, is he capable of actually completing it? We all know that Ethan Hunt's actually capable, but it has to be on his own terms. And that's why the CIA is always like against IMF. And it does, after watching this now, like I watched them all in a row, Fallout is good, but for what I rated it the first time I watched it, I kind of want to knock it down a bit just because it's low-key repetitive. Because why would we bring in Henley and Rogue Nation to dissolve the IMF and then technically Sloane doesn't trust the IMF? So it was like a little step towards the exact same thing, but that's what I didn't like about it. Regardless, Bassett, who plays Sloane, is like, nuh-uh. Anything that has to do with Lane, with Lark, with the White Widow, we're sending Walker with him because I just don't trust Ethan to do this. So the next big task is that they have to go to Paris. They have to find her, but they have to take the face of Lark in order for her to understand who it is. Because it's one of those situations like, did she meet him? Did she not meet him yet? So they have to take the face. So they do the skydive. Ethan does the skydive. Okay. Tom Cruise actually does the dive. He does it. He jumps out of the plane. Crazy. I kind of like the black and red aesthetic. It was really cool in there. But Ethan's talking to Walker and he's like, listen, I do things my way or no way. That's it. That's just me. And Walker's like, you have to follow these guidelines with the CAA, blah, 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 like all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, he's not that boring of a counterpart in this, but like, you've heard it all before. And Henry Cavill was a lot of fun as Walker. I liked him a lot because of the twist that happens. So they jump out of the plane. Obviously, Walker's really cocky, has to show his chops. He's like, what, are you scared of a little lightning? Because there was lightning, there was a storm, and Ethan's like, maybe if we kind of like go over it a bit more, we'll be okay. But no, Walker's like, we're gonna dive right in because we have to get there before midnight. What happens? Walker gets struck by lightning. Like, what are the odds, fam? Like, what are the odds to get struck by lightning after you say, what are the odds they're gonna get struck by lightning? It happens. So they're free falling and Ethan goes to save Walker within like split seconds. The tension there was really good. I kind of like where the camera was. Like, you're seeing it right in Ethan's face and you're not really looking at Walker, but they're flipping and they're turning in midair. Like, Ethan's trying to save him and they're trying to like attach to each other. So that was really cool. They crash land on top of the building and Ethan's like, are you going to listen to me next time, type of thing. So they go in, they break in, they go into this party, and they have to find these bracelets that are low-key trackers for this guy named Lark. They don't know what he looks like. They do end up finding him in the bathroom. Now, this bathroom sequence, I love it so much, okay? Really subtle movements, stealthy. It's beautiful white, bright lights, which I really liked. And the sink and the mirrors, there's like some in the middle, there's some on the sides, but they kind of take Lark and they fight him a bit. They drug him and they put him in one of the stalls so they can scan his face. But as they're scanning the face, it's literally Walker and Ethan and Lark sitting in the stall. And then these like drunk people come in and they're trying to like break into the stall, obviously, because they think that there's two men like canoodling in there. And then what happens is that Lark wakes up and they fight each other within this small stall. And then this fight breaks out. But it's rough. Like, they're banging into the sinks and like it crashes to the floor, mirrors everywhere, blood everywhere. And then you get the reloaded arms of Walker, which is like the greatest thing that Henry Cavill's ever done. He gets loaded, gets in, beats him to a pulp. So does Ethan. They both get beaten pretty badly. As Lark is about to take the shot because he got a clear shot of Ethan, unfortunately, because he couldn't take him, Ilsa comes in. Gorgeous Rebecca Ferguson comes in and takes the shot of Lark straight to the face. They needed his face. So Ilsa's like, I'm sorry, I was aiming for his chest. Like, how am I supposed to know you needed his face? So now Ilsa's involved in their plan. They go back out and they see Vanessa Kirby, who's a doll. I think she perfectly executed this. She was really good. So she doesn't know what Lark looks like, but as Ethan's going into the crowd, there are people following him and the eyes of the White Widow, which is Vanessa Kirby. So it's all very sketchy. Ethan takes her aside and says, listen, there are people here who are trying to kill you. And he's like, you either trust me as someone who actually told you this information, who doesn't want to kill you, but just wants to make a deal, blah, blah, blah. Another action sequence ensues. I really like this one because he's trying to help her get out of the area. And then it's like one henchman at a time. So it's like he's moving with her and then he's taking these shots. Again, the camera is really smart here. You're anticipating the next move of Ethan Hunt more so than the henchman coming to attack him. And I really like that. But obviously, Vanessa Kirby's no damsel. She has like a little switchblade on her garter and she takes that out and she starts stabbing people. And Ilsa also comes in and does one of her little Black Widow headlocks and takes him down too. So the three of them are out of there and they make it out. The White Widow is kind of like this middle person. So what she ends up doing is that she is a buyer and a seller. She wants something like payment for something else. So obviously Ethan's like, I want the plutonium. What can I give you to get the plutonium? Like, do you want money? Do you want this? X, Y, and Z explains it. So she says, I need you to extract someone for me. And then I will give you the plutonium. Like, I'll give you what it is. She shows him that the plutonium's there. And the person that they need to extract is Solomon Lane. This is what gets really, really bad because Ethan's like, I will not give him up. There is no way I'm giving him up. So everything comes flashing back to him. And he's someone who doesn't kill. He doesn't kill police officers. He'll wound people, but he won't kill them unless they are actually the bad guys. And even if they're the bad guys, we've seen Ethan like let them go or just knock them unconscious. He's never like, he's not adamant about killing people, but obviously they are. So there's this massive, massive car chase and it's really well done. It lasts for a good, it feels like 15 minutes or like 10, 15 minutes. So I really like what they did there. I love that Ilsa was also involved, but she wasn't directly working with Ethan. She still wants to get Lane, but she wants to kill Lane. So not only do you have like the apostles, you have the CIA, you have Walker watching Ethan, and then you have everyone with the White Widow. So it's a lot of people in play here. There's motorcycle chases, there's car chases, all of this, but I really like that McQuarrie just focuses on the silence. Like the sound design is the most impeccable thing in Fallout for this reason, is because you get to hear them breathing, you get to hear the punches, you get to hear, the cars like screeching to a halt. There's not much dialogue in these action scenes, and that's what's really important here. So I like that they did that. Ultimately, they were trying to arrest Hunt because they're trying to peg him for his other indiscretions, like his other crimes that they're not really crimes because he was with IMF, but no one knows that. Like the CIA doesn't know that. And they can pin it on him that he was actually doing this as like when he was disavowed, like not as an operative. So that's what he has on him. That's what the CIA has on him. And that's what Lane has to work with as well. So he does capture Lane. They keep him underground. They go to this like little vault and there's a way to do this trade. So now the White Widow wants Ilsa because Ilsa was obviously working with Ethan Hunt and she killed some of her henchmen as well. So there was one scene where they had Lane and they were trying to get him into the car. And then they opened this garage and there was a police officer there. And Ethan's like, okay, we got to figure this out because like everyone was just froze and she's ready to like pull the gun out on them. But in that moment, one of the apostles did shoot her. And he's like, please, like, don't leave her alone, all of that. So Ethan just got really pissed off because he's like, enough is enough. He takes a shot at all four of them and protects the police officer. So the deeper this whole goes, the more Luther feels like this is my fault. Like I'm such a close friend of Ethan's, but that's why he's such a good man that he wasn't going to let me die for a stack of plutonium. Like they'll find another way. And Ethan does find another way. And I think that Luther really trusts him so much. And he's the one person that believes in him and vouches for him. So I really like that dynamic there. So they do put Lane in a holding cell. It's not as detailed as Rogue Nation, but it lasts a long time. They were going to switch to Lane because of the drop, because obviously Ethan doesn't want him to be in anyone else's possession. So Benji was going to be Solomon Lane, which is absolutely terrible. And they were going to do a little switcheroo. Henley is kind of in on this plan. where they do the switcheroo with the mask and all of that. They're ready to like go, and Walker's standing there on babysitting duty, but Henley is supposedly like dead or like unconscious because Ethan's like, this is not the way to go. You know, like I have my own plan. We're going to do it my way. And without even knowing, this is how the plan goes. So it's a really small thing, but I really enjoyed it. Walker's there, supposed to like look out for him because he's supposed to listen to Ethan, and Lane's just sitting there. So Walker was like talking to Lane saying, this is my plan, basically outs him that he was working with the apostles through the CIA to secure Lane. And it was just a great moment because Walker blabbing all of that doesn't realize that Benji is the one sitting in the chair as Lane, and then Henley's still alive. They all come after him afterwards. They're like, we didn't leave. You really think that we were that stupid? We're going to leave you with the actual Lane. So now they know the whole plan. Walker is like completely compromised, but he doesn't care. He's one of those villains like, yeah, okay, I still have the plan. Like, what are we going to do about it? So they're all in this basement now. Sloan comes out of nowhere, and obviously Walker's the double cross. You have CIA agents, you have IMF agents, and you have rogue agents basically as well. You have the apostles, and they're all there. They don't know who to shoot at anymore, so I found that quite funny. And obviously the way that this works out is that Henley dies because Walker actually takes a knife to him, and like honestly for Henley to like beat up Walker the way that he was doing it, I was kind of surprised. So he's taking these like little jabs. He dies. Walker's on the run. This is one of my favorite sequences. So as Walker's on the run and he's like, he has a tracker in him because they did stab him. They also put a tracker in Ethan, Luther did, and Benji's watching them, like he's trying to find him. So Walker's just like straight up speed walking, and Ethan is booking it on these roofs. He's literally every single roof he's jumping because Benji, who's so funny, was looking at it in 2D and not in 3D. And then he had a screen lock on, so like the left and the rights weren't right to begin with. So it was just funny because Ethan's like like literally eyeballing this, and he's like free running because he doesn't know where he is, but he's trying to find Benji. And then he's taken to like these really weird spots, but he's booking it like the fastest he's ever run. I thought it was a lot of fun. And they have this medical site in Kashmir. So in Kashmir, they have these 2 plutonium bombs with timers. They have 1 detonator, and they have the key. So they have to try their best to find Lane and to defuse the bombs in order for all of this to work out, that the plutonium doesn't kind of explode. So that goes into the 3rd act of this. And this is how I know I love the way that this went. So the bombs are there. They try to track it and they break out. They have them on their comms, their earpieces. And what happens is that Julia's there at the medical site. They kind of implied it, and then it happened. So Lane, the entire time, to seek his revenge, he kept Julia there. Ethan had no idea, which is terrible. So what had happens is that Luther kind of takes on Julia because he has to defuse one of the bombs, and he ends up helping her. Lane is in one of the houses in the village, and Ilsa goes after him, but she gets all like chained up, and he's like ready to kill her. And then he waits for Benji to go to that safe house to defuse the bomb and to find Ilsa in order to kill him. So simultaneously, while this is all happening, Walker has the detonator, and it only has 15 minutes, which feels like an eternity. At the 15 minutes, I'm telling you, feels like an eternity. And Ethan Hunt has a helicopter fight with Walker. So all of this is so well done. I love the camera placement on the rails of the helicopter. I love it on the side of the helicopter. And obviously Ethan Hunt is on the helicopter. He's the one riding it. The rope climb from like the ball of supplies that was there, like, what are you doing? He climbed that camera placement as well. The angle is just so good. And the thing is that the more Tom Cruise does these stunts, the more realistic it feels, the more tension you feel. And I just love that about Fallout. And then obviously he has his moments with Julia, which I really liked. And the fact that they saw each other again, I don't think that they need to see her anymore because it's closed out, this relationship at the end of Fallout. So there's a really long fight scene between Ethan and Walker, and he has to like scale the side of the mountain. He has like this helicopter like hanging by a rope on the side of the cliff, and the detonator's like sitting at the top of the cliff, and he freehands it again. He climbs up the mountain after he beats Walker to like a pulp. And while like Bendy's trying to get free and they take down Lane, and then like Julia is okay and in the clear, they're all talking to each other with the bomb about to detonate and Ethan getting to the detonator to like disarm it. But the thing is that they don't have any comms to Ethan. So they're just like, okay, within seconds, like, let's get this done. And they do it. The screen goes white. And we don't know until Ethan's like hanging on the side of the cliff with the top part of the detonator in his mouth, and he has the detonator in his hand. So we're like, thank God, everyone got free. Everyone's fine. No one's hurt. And then Ethan's wheeled into the hospital there on the med site, and him and Julia have a moment. And it's really beautiful. I think they wrote that incredibly well. You did feel it more so than anything I felt in MI3. I'm not going to lie. So they did have a conversation. She says that she's exactly where she needed to be. You gave me such a full life, and knowing that you're watching over me like this, the world is a safer place. I'm in a safe place. And she really just shows the appreciation for everything that he's given to her, even though they've been like so distant. But I like that. I think that the action set pieces leading up to this moment were really strong. They're the most memorable out of like the recent ones, I think, that I really like. But it all ties into everything that Ethan does is to protect her more so. And she went ghost because Luther taught her how to go ghost. And I really like that there was a scene between Luther and Ilsa, and Luther was explaining to Ilsa that like he's only really had, you know, admiration and love for two women in his life, one of them being Julia, and without saying it, the other one being Ilsa. So I really like that they said it without saying it, and that Ilsa understands, obviously being a spy. So not only did Julia and Ethan have a moment, but there's a scene towards the end where Julia is like walking out, Ilsa walks in, and she whispers in Julia's ear. And I felt like that was just so reassuring, instead of them being like, oh my God, like he's mine now type of thing, which they shouldn't have done in the first place. Like obviously Ilsa's more understanding. She whispers in her ear, and it's almost like, you know, I got him, like, don't worry about it. Like I'll take care of him. And I really like that they had that for the two of them, almost as a closure as well, because they show that Julia is also married to another doctor. So that makes complete sense. So Ilsa goes to Ethan, and I really like that they're like, you know, they're touching each other's faces. Like it's really sweet now that she knows confirmation that he does feel the same way, even though he doesn't say it. And he can't laugh because he's in a lot of pain. So they try not to make him laugh. And like, that's a really sweet way to end it, based on the fact that like, you know, Ethan makes tough decisions, and it's always in the best interest of himself and his friends and his loved ones over what the government wants him to do. And there's always a way. Ethan will always find a way to make sure that everyone is safe. And I just love that they were just there for him. And to end off with Benji asking him, like, how close were we this time? And Ethan responds with, you know, like this, you know, the usual. And then of course, like the usual is like a couple of seconds, and they actually like skim it. So I thought that was really cute. The last thing is Ethan saying like, don't make me laugh. And that is how we close off to the end credits. I thought that was really nice. Again, Tom Cruise is the last one credited. The more we see the team effort, I just really love that about the Mission Impossible franchise, is that it's more of a team thing, and it's not just Ethan. So they all come together for him, and that's what really works here. So I gave Fallout a 4.5 out of 5 at the time, but now that I watched it again, I think I'm gonna put it down to a 4 out of 5, just because of like small repetitive issues with me. But I'm happy that we wrapped up with Lane. I'm happy that we wrapped up with Julia. But I really liked Fallout. I thought it was a lot of fun. Again, many memorable action set pieces that I liked. But I think Fallout, the first time you watch it on the big screen, it's like, oh my God, twist and turn and big booming set pieces. And then when you watch it again, I'm not saying it doesn't hold up. It's still one of the better ones in the franchise. It's just there was something that it felt all too familiar again. And I think it's because they used Solomon Lane again, even though he's a fantastic villain. Like, let's put him in everything. It just had to be a bit stronger for my liking, I guess. But it's a 4 out of 5. I had it at 4.5. That means I really enjoyed it. So please let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed Mission Impossible Fallout. Is it your favorite one in the franchise? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And if you guys want to help me grow this wonderful channel, you can find out ways to do that in the bio below. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.